Life has a way of testing us. Some people crumble under the weight of suffering, while others find a way to transform their pain into something powerful. This is the story of Daniel Carter, a man who was beaten down by life but refused to stay down. A man who learned that sometimes pain isn't the end of the road. Sometimes pain is just the beginning of a new journey. Daniel Carter was once a man filled with dreams. Growing up in a quiet neighborhood, he was a gifted artist, always sketching, always creating. His mother, a single parent, worked tirelessly to provide for him. "You have a gift, Daniel," she would say. "Don't ever let the world take it from you." But life, as it often does, had other plans. When Daniel was 23, tragedy struck. His mother, the one person who had always believed in him, passed away suddenly. It was as if the world had lost all its color. The art that once flowed from his fingertips disappeared. The passion that had once burned within him turned to ashes. Depression crept in, slowly like a shadow that wouldn't leave. Bills piled up. His job as a bookstore clerk barely covered rent. Friends disappeared, not knowing how to deal with his grief. One by one, the pieces of his life fell apart. And then came the final blow, the eviction notice taped to his apartment door. Homeless, alone, and with nowhere to turn, Daniel found himself walking the cold streets at night, the city lights flickering like distant stars he could no longer reach. One particularly cold night, Daniel sat beneath a bridge, his breath visible in the freezing air. He pulled his worn-out jacket closer to his body, his stomach growling in protest of yet another day without food. He stared at the empty streets before him, his mind filled with memories of better times. A deep voice suddenly interrupted his thoughts. "Rough night, huh?" Daniel turned to see an older man sitting a few feet away, wrapped in layers of blankets. His face was weathered, his hands rough from years of hardship. He held out a half-eaten sandwich. "Take it," the man said. "You look like you need it more than I do." Daniel hesitated but eventually took the sandwich. He hadn't eaten in 2 days. "Thank you," he muttered. The man nodded. "Name's Robert." They sat in silence for a while before Robert spoke again. "You don't belong here." Daniel let out a bitter laugh. "And where do I belong?" "Somewhere better than this," Robert said simply. "You just forgot how to fight." Those words echoed in Daniel's mind. Forgotten how to fight. Had he really given up? Had he let his pain define him? Over the next few weeks, Daniel and Robert talked every night. Robert had been on the streets for years, but had an optimism that was unshakable. "Life's about choices," he often said. "You can choose to be broken, or you can choose to rebuild." One night, Robert handed Daniel an old sketchbook. "I see the way you look at the world," he said. "You've got an artist's soul. Use it." At first, Daniel didn't know what to do. His hands trembled as he held the pencil. But then, something happened. As he sketched the city around him, the way the lights reflected off the pavement, the way the people moved, he felt something stir inside him. A spark. For the first time in years, he felt alive. With Robert's encouragement, Daniel began selling small sketches on the street. At first, people barely noticed, but one day, a woman stopped. "This is beautiful," she said, holding up one of his drawings. "Do you have more?" That single purchase changed everything. Word spread. More people came. Soon, Daniel had enough money to get off the streets. He rented a small studio apartment. He started painting again. But he didn't forget where he came from. Daniel used his earnings to help others. Starting with Robert, he found him a shelter, helped him get back on his feet, but he wanted to do more. So he opened a small community arts center for struggling artists, a place where they could heal through creativity. He called it the Phoenix Project. Years passed, and Daniel's name became known not just as an artist, but as a mentor, a symbol of resilience. The once broken man was now lifting others up. He had turned his pain into power. One evening, he stood outside his art center, watching a group of young artists painting murals on the walls. Robert, now healthy and working as a counselor, walked up beside him. "You did it," Robert said. Daniel smiled. "We did it." Daniel's story is a reminder that pain does not have to be the end. It can be the beginning of something new. Whatever you're going through, know this: you are stronger than your suffering. You have the power to rise, to rebuild, to become something greater than you ever imagined. And if you ever feel like giving up, remember, the most beautiful art is often created from the deepest pain. If Daniel's story moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, no matter how dark life gets, there is always a way forward. You are not alone. Keep fighting. Keep rising. Keep creating your masterpiece. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment.